Hey y'all, so this video talks about missing data, which is a really common problem that we all will run into at some point when working in R. So this is all about how R thinks about missing data and how to specify it and work with it in your data sets. So first thing to know is that R recognizes NA as a special character for identifying missing data. And so we can see when I type it it in my specific color or aesthetic color that I've chosen for my RStudio, it comes up as orange. And if you are wondering, just as a side note, how my screen is this color, and you're curious if you can change yours, you can go up to Tools, Global Options, Appearance, and then in this editor theme, there's a bunch of different types of colors that you can play around with and see which one you like. But mine, I think, is on Twilight. So that's why it's that color. So character. And for instance, like when we type a number, it actually comes up as the same color. So this is your way of kind of seeing like how is R thinking about NA? It's thinking about it the same way it thinks about any sort of value uh, in it, like a numerical value. You can also use NaN, which is not number, I believe, but R kind of sees it as the same thing. It's a missing value. One thing to note is that if you were to put NA in quotes like this, as you can see, it's coming up as a different color, and like R sees this basically as text or a string. And so it will not recognize this as a missing value. So do not use quotes for NA values in R. So let's go through an example. So we're going to create a vector heights with a bunch of different heights in it and one NA value. Okay, so we've saved our heights vector. So let's see if we try to just take the mean of these values. R spits out an NA. What about if we were to take the max? Again, what about the sum? Again, so R is basically saying I can't calculate this with an NA in the vector. So a common thing that ends up happening is in this, for instance, mean function, we can tab forward and see, okay, well, first we need to specify what the vector is. So we'll write heights, and then if we tab, it'll show us these other argument options that we can include in the function. And the one that we're interested in is this na.rm, which basically will tell R to remove the NA values if it's set to true. So the default is false. And so if you want to change that, you have to specifically put this argument in. So when we run that, we are in fact able to get a value. One other thing to note is I've written out true, but you could also just write T and it also understands what you mean. So another way to investigate missing data is you might want to extract out the various elements that are missing from a vector. So you can use this function called isNA heights, and it will give us the logical values for if there is an NA or not in the vector. So the first three values are false because they are in fact numerical values, and then the fourth one is true because it is NA. There's also this handy symbol in R that we basically use as an exclamation mark. And this tells R to basically invert to select the opposite. So exclamation mark is NA heights will give us the exact opposite response to the function that did not have the exclamation marks. So now it's saying true for every number. So the reason why this is handy is you might want to remove the NA values from a vector. And so the way to do that is to call up your vector, use the exclamation mark, is.na heights. And now we can see our output is the same vector, but without the NA. One other function I wanted to show you all is this function called complete cases. And so basically this will return an object that has only values where there is the full information available. So for instance, you might have a data set that you want to use in a model, and your model only will include observations that have a value for every variable in the model. And so you could use this function to create a subset of your data that has literally no NAs in it. So the function, as I mentioned, is complete cases heights. So if we do this, it gives us the same response as the one before, where it removes the NA. So this is going to come up throughout class. And so you'll start to see sort of the functionality of these various ways of removing missing data, and also some of the cautionary tales that we have around removing missing data. So stay tuned for that.